Western world looked on the ruins of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 and swore that such a horror must never happen again. Before even 12 months had passed, America had offered an agreement to scrap every one of her remaining atom bombs. Russia refused the offer. Russia had her reasons. She had set her own sights on nuclear supremacy. In the West, people demonstrated to demand that nuclear weapons must never again be used. To this day, every Western government of every political color has shared that resolve. It's only on the means of nuclear prevention that disagreement persists. But there are anti-nuclear campaigners who believe that we must disarm unilaterally in a one-sided rejection of nuclear weapons which will, they hope, show the way for Russia to follow. Plenty of concerned people outside the organized protest movements come to that, question our ownership of weapons which, if ever used, could spell the end of civilization.
I share their concern.
We should stay in and not have no bombs. I would like Britain to stay out.
I mean, how do we get stuck with nuclear weapons in the first place?
We got stuck with them when world events took charge. In 1945, Soviet troops linked with ours in Germany, and the war in Europe was won. For the West, the first priority then was to get men out of uniform. Inside 12 months, Western forces in Europe had shrunk by 4/5. Not so the Russians. They'd already swallowed up 3 Baltic republics. Now they backed the communist takeover of 5 more nations. And 2 years after the war, Soviet forces in Europe outnumbered ours by at least 9-1. And they built up East German forces under Russian leadership and so created another satellite, quite against the wishes of its population. Then they tried to starve us out of our rightful sectors of West Berlin, and only a massive Allied airlift of essential supplies saved the city from being swallowed whole. 1956, and the Hungarians rose to demand their freedom. Russia replied with tanks in the streets. 1968, and Czechoslovakia dared to demonstrate for independence. Soviet armor rolled in again. And recently it was Poland's turn to feel the weight of Russian pressure. By the early 60s, the Soviet Union had seen how many of her German subjects were voting with their feet and migrating westwards. So she sealed the border with wire and minefields and built the infamous Berlin Wall. But still, the escapers kept coming. But as early as 1949, Russia was plainly showing her belief that Soviet ideology must dominate the world, and her readiness to use military force to achieve that. In that year, Russia put paid to the last hope of stopping an arms race before it started. She tested her first atomic bomb.